Hi everyone, it's Jill Foster here for Penny Black with the last in the series of 5 videos designed to demonstrate basic techniques for inking and stamping with our brushstroke stamps. And in today's video, I will be using our Belle brushstroke stamp. And one thing that's really fun about this brushstroke stamp is it does have an exact match die that you can use to cut out your flower once you are finished stamping it. So here's a look at the supplies that I will be using for this technique, and I will put this exact same supply list back up at the very end of the video. And so if you want to look at it in more detail at that time, you can just hit pause and it'll be right up on screen for you. So to begin, I am stamping in my Misty Stamp Positioning Tool. This is by My Sweet Petunia. And I'm stamping onto hot press watercolor paper. I like using this paper for this technique because it has a nice smooth surface. Cold press paper has a little bit more texture to it, but this hot press paper is nice and smooth. And I am inking up my stamp to begin using Ranger Archival inks. And this first color is the color of Sunflower. And this is one of the mini ink pads, and it's really great for being able to get it just right onto the flower itself. And I'm just stamping it a couple of times to intensify the color. And then I will go in and add some additional stamping here onto that flower center just to add some shading. Now this is a permanent ink. So for this technique, I chose to use a permanent ink for my stamping because all of the detail that's included with this stamp, I'm going to capture with this initial stamping. And because it's permanent, when I go in and add some painting and some watercoloring on top of this, I will be able to keep all of the detail that I am stamping right now. It is not going to reconstitute or reblend no matter what I put on top of it later on. So for this technique, this works great with all of our brushstroke stamps, and it's just a different way to apply ink and get really bold, vibrant color with your brushstroke stamps. So I went ahead and got the leaves as well. Now you really could stop right here. I think it looks beautiful like this. But I love to paint and I love to add additional shading and vibrant colors. So I'm just going to take it one step further. I'm going to use Distress Ink Reinkers as watercolors. And I like these for this technique in particular because they're a transparent ink. So like I said, all that stamping that we did with those permanent inks to begin with, this will just add shading on top of that, but the details of the stamp will still be able to sort of shine through the shading and additional coloring that we'll be adding on top. I also like that these are a very concentrated color, so you get that really bright, vibrant color. But you could also use any other transparent watercolors that you have. I will be using one distress stain here in the color of Wild Honey, and I'm just using that because I didn't have a Wild Honey Distress Reinker on hand. So you can see that this will also work with your distress stains. You could press like your distress ink pad onto your palette and pick up that color with your paintbrush and paint it on any transparent ink that you can mix with water in order to paint on top. So I'm going to use several colors in shades of reds and oranges and yellows. And then down below on the leaves, I'll use a couple shades of green to add my shading and to sort of intensify some of those details and the veins that are a part of that stamp. And I'm just blending those together while it is still wet on the petal. I can mix and match different colors together until I'm happy with the look. If you're painting this yourself, one place that's really handy to look at is the packaging that comes with your stamp. So you can just set it right up next to you while you're painting if you're wondering where to add some of those darker and lighter colors. One thing I really love with all of our brushstroke stamps, this one included, is that the highlight is built right into the stamp. So you can see when you're looking at this right now, those white areas that are on the petal and the leaves, those are natural highlights that are built into the shading, and it really adds a lot of life to your stamping if you leave those white. I have trouble when I'm painting in like an outline image to remember and where the placement should be for those highlights. And so I love with these stamps, it's just right there for me and I don't even have to think about it. But when you're done, it is very dramatic to keep that nice white highlight on there. So I'm just going to continue adding my shading and my painting right here on top, and I'll put a little music on for you and I'll be back in just a bit. here I'm just finishing up, adding a few details and just a touch of yellow down here in the leaves. And here's a look. I just snapped a picture of that flower once I was completed with the painting. And then for my card, I used that exact match die cut to cut out the flower that I had painted, and I layered it onto a distress inked and stamped background and added a couple of additional die cuts behind it. And it is just so simple to add that to the card when you have that exact match die. So I thank you so much for watching today. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, and on our website and blog. And I will link all of those for you down in the YouTube description box below. And if you stay tuned, here at the end of the video is the complete list of all the supplies, including those additional stamps and die cuts I used on the card I created with this stamp.